Going on YouTube, Cloverbells here, back with another Scarlet Violet video, and today we're going to do a little bit more Regulation F team building today, and Iron Crown will be our focus for this evening. So this is a widely requested one actually, even since the beginning of Regulation F, the second go around I should say. A lot of people wanted to use Iron Crown Psyspam teams, and that's exactly what we're going to show you here. And there's going to be some, easy starting ideas to use, and there's going to be some more modern variations that we're going to be talking about. And really the easiest way to play it is the hyper offensive way with something like Tornadus, right? But there are other variants that you can play Iron Crown, and that's going to lead me to the second one that I've got here on the screen. There is a Calm Mind variant with Iron Crown that you can definitely play, and even though it doesn't totally use the hyper offensive way, the Calm Mind variants, the tools that they have are a little bit different than the more aggressive hyper offensive way with Tailwind support, with something like Tornadus, Regidrago, right? We've seen that kind of team before, but the Calm Mind variants, they're going to play a little bit slower, and they're going to need a little bit more support to be able to set up the Calm Minds, right? So you're going to definitely need a little bit more redirection, not just one, but probably two redirectors, and then at the same time, you're going to need some fake out pressure, so this way you can always click fake out plus your setup move, a very standard way to use that kind of idea. And that means the Iron Crown for this type of build with Calm Mind, that's going to be a little bit slower and bulkier than this one, which likes to play a little bit more offensive, right? Now, the difference here, Terra Blast versus Calm Mind, obviously, right? With Terra Blast, Terra Water being really good against something like Incineroar, because again, Expanding Force and Tack and Cutter are either resisted or, again, Incineroar doesn't take any damage because it is a dark type, which again, makes your Expanding Force do no damage, right? So you need the Terra Blast, Terra Water to at least hit something like Incineroar, which is a very common Pokemon to have against Iron Crown. And that means you're going to need something else besides Terra Blast for an Incineroar, because if they just simply lead it, then you're pretty much just forced to always use Terra Blast, Terra Water, and you don't want to necessarily rely on only that. So you need at least maybe two options to help you deal with something like Incineroar. Chien Pao is another one that you also have to watch out for. Now, again, you do have Tact and Cutter to bypass a Focus Sash on a Chien Pao, for example. Otherwise, you just click Sucker Punch against you and then you just melt. Now, that being said, you can always Terra, but sometimes you don't always have that option to Terra. And then at the same time, this is also why you have the Indeedee on your team, not only to boost up your Expanding Force damage, but to make sure that you are not at the mercy of priority moves like a Sucker Punch or even something like a Boosted Thunderclap from a Raging Bolt, for example, right? So, those are just easy options to consider, and then just adding Incineroar here, right? Because usually these Iron Crown teams, they're gonna have, let me take the Calm Mind variant off the board. They're gonna have something like Tornadus here, they're gonna have something like an Indeedee, right? And then they'll add the Urshifu, just because, again, Urshifu and Tornadus, they pair very, very well together. Because, again, not only do you have the Tailwind support, but you also have the Rain Dance support as well. So that can even enable the Urshifu. And then at the same time, that can really hinder some of the Photosynthesis Sun teams that are running around as well. So this way you can have the weather advantage back in your favor and then make your Urshifu deal even more damage in said rain. And because of that, the item on Urshifu can very much vary. Sometimes they may still go for the Choice Scarf, right? Which is what we saw the first time around in Regulation F. But people are leaning towards two more items these days. Either they're going for a little bit more damage with Mystic Water, and then probably a defensive Terra, like either Fire or even just straight up Stellar or even just Water anyway. But you don't necessarily need the damage anymore. And these Urshifus probably involve a little bit more special defense EVs, so this way they can live a little bit more special attacks, right, from something like a Flutter Mane or a Raging Bolt, for example. But either way, you can always put the Sash on this Urshifu here, right? So this way you can live to tell the tale and always get at least one attack off here. And with this Tornadus, you can always put the Sash here, but now you can always opt for something like a Covert Cloak here, or even like a Rocky Helmet, for example. And then this way the Tornadus doesn't have to really worry about fake out pressure on its side, right? But we'll get into the items a little bit later. I just wanted to show you at least the standard 4-core that you could easily start with for an Iron Crown team. We've talked about this a little bit in our Toronto recap video, but this will always be like a starting 4, and then these last 2 slots will be up for grabs here. But again, the way it plays is very, very aggressive. Now with this Indeedee here, not only do you have the option to, again, provide Psychic Terrain, but you also have the idea of clicking Trick Room, where now you can play in both modes, whether you be in Trick Room or the Tailwind mode here. And usually when you're up against the mirror, you can even offer the idea of leading Indeedee into the opposing Tornadus teams and then threaten the power of Trick Room, right? And then this way your sweepers can play in said Trick Room, right? Which is why you can invest in like these Mystic Water variants that are slower, bulkier, but also more aggressive, because again, they can invest in Adamant, which means they can invest more EVs into their bulk, right? Because they're going to have the advantage either in Trick Room or in Tailwind. And by that, I mean the Urshifu. Same thing with this Iron Crown. One thing you have to realize with Iron Crown, this 98 speed tier is a little bit unfortunate, because that means you are not faster than the base 100s, like a ChiYu, for example, which can give Iron Crown a lot of problems, right? Because again, it's a Dark Fire type, okay? And you're subjected to Snarl support from the ChiYu, which means you do less damage. Same thing, Raging Bolts also, with the Assault Vest variants, they'll also have Snarl, which is again very annoying for Iron Crown. So you need a way to deal with Raging Bolts that have the Assault Vest with that Snarl support. Otherwise, they become really, really hard to remove. This is why you need some strong physical damage, or you could either offer the double Genie support and offer something like Landorus on your team. That's an option. But again, sometimes these teams will also offer something like a Flutter Mane, where you just have a little bit more instant offense. That is something to help you deal against a Raging Bolt, despite the Assault Vest, meaning your Flutter Mane does a little bit less damage. It's still super effective because you are a Fairy type into a Dragon type, so that's one way to really consider it. Okay, those are two tools that you can definitely consider in that regard. And then from where you go here, again, these last two options, they will vary, but we'll show you the standard way. Because the standard way is always just the easiest way to start out with, and then we'll start delving into some variations, and then we'll also talk about the Calm Mind variant. That is the other way to play the Iron Crown besides this hyper offensive way with the Tailwind support here. Okay, so we'll start things off with the variation that a lot of people know by now, and is maybe one of the more common ones to use with Iron Crown, and that is the aggressive Regidrago idea, right? So again, with Regidrago, it definitely needs a lot of support with the speed, where Tornadus and Indeedee are going to be very much needed, because again, with Dragon Energy, you want to make sure that you are going first, because if you're taking damage, then your Dragon Energy does less and less. The same way like Torkoal Eruption, right? So one way to help you get around this, if you're going up against Regidrago, is to hit it with a priority move. So this way, the Dragon Energy right off the rip does less damage. That's where Indeedee comes into play, because with Psychic Terrain, you take away those priority moves, and that means Regidrago doesn't really have to worry about getting Sucker Punched or Thunderclapped, for example, right? So that being said, you're still somewhat slow because 80 speed isn't all that great. This is why you need Tailwind support from the Tornadus. So this way you can outspeed pretty much everything that you need to outspeed, and then click the Dragon Energy button. And then at the same time, the Regidrago definitely likes support from the Iron Crown, because you can't hit Fairy types like a Flutter Mane. This is why you need the Iron Crown Tack and Cutter Steel move, which is going to help you a lot. Otherwise, you can always just go for Terra Steel here and just go for something like a Terra Blast Terra Steel, right? That's the other move that it can do. But otherwise, usually they'll go for something like Earth Power, right? Just as another move to be able to click besides its Dragon moves, right? This one usually being something like Draco Meteor, a single target move. And here you have the option to go for the Dragon Fang for boosted dragon damage, or you can just go for Life Orb. Even though you are taking Life Orb chip and doing less Dragon Energy damage, the 1.3 boost is very, very strong, and it kind of compensates and makes up for it by a wide margin. So for this build, we'll go with the Dragon Fang here. But of the hyper offensive variants with Iron Crown, the Regidrago variant is kind of my least favorite. Not that it's bad, of course. It's not that bad at all, but it does restrict your team building a little bit, and it also puts your opponent on a radar, more or less, like, oh, he's got Regidrago, we got to plan for that, right? And this is where you can always counter lead, right? But it's just not one of my favorite ways to play, because I think it just limits my team building just a little bit. But this is a build that everyone likes to use, because again, who doesn't like clicking Tailwind and Dragon Energy, right? I feel like there's more lines that you can use, with something like this, but that is always the starting play that you have if you have a Regidrago with this kind of Tailwind team. The second thing is, look, you've got an Urshifu Rapid Strike here. It's very easy to just slap on the Ogerpon Heartflame here for a nice solid Fire, Water, Grass core. Okay, and then at the same time, you still get a Redirector, right, in the Ogerpon over here, right? And then you still get a hard-hitting Ivy Cudgel and Woodhammer here. And usually, you know, with something like this, the reason why Ogerpon is also appreciated on a team like this is one way to help you, or, you know, as an opponent to help against a team like this, is to take away the Indeedee terrain. And usually that's done with Rillaboom, with grassy terrain. But now if you bring in Ogerpon, that just makes you stronger, right? Because now you have a harder hitting Wood Hammer, and then at the same time, you can pressure the Rillaboom with the Ivy Cudgel. That's usually why these Ogerpons are on these type of teams, is just to help you against the Rillaboom idea. And, you know, from here, you still, again, like I said, you got this Fire, Water, Grass core going here. And, you know, the Ogerpon, you know, just being able to Terra Fire here and then just go for these hard-hitting physical Ivy Cudgels, that's going to be very, very punishing. And then again, you still have this Urshifu over here that can deal a lot of damage here. Now, I did say you don't have to necessarily go for the Mystic Water here. You can always just go for something like a Focus Sash over here, right? And then play the Urshifu that way. It's really up to you as the player, but at least, you know, for a starting build, you can always just opt for the Sash here. But if you want the bulkier Mystic Water variant, you can definitely play that, and we'll show you that EV spread in a little bit when we show you the other renditions of this type of squad. Okay, but as far as like what we want to play with this, Iron Crown here, Terra Water, Terra Blast is the way to go. Indeedee here, I like the Rocky Helmet idea just to be able to redirect a lot of the physical mons in this format. You know, stuff that want to go for knockoff, like a Roaring Moon, or like, you know, Incineroar. You know, at least take that first chip with Rocky Helmets. Urshifu also, you know, again, just surging strikes into the Rocky Helmet. That's going to deal much more damage to it, right? And, you know, from here, just think about like other things, you know, going for, you know, physical hard-hitting moves that, again, Indeedee can always just use its Rocky Helmet chip damage for. Breaking Sash is important in this format, by the way. So for something like this, you could just easily go Psychic or Dazzling Gleam, right? Either way, it's okay. I think Terra Fairy is a good Terra for this. There's lots of Terras that you can play with Indeedee. I think you can even go Grass, right, for the Urshifu resistance and Amoonguss Spore shenanigans. But D-Gleam is good. Follow Me, right, Helping Hand, and then Trick Room here. This is a very standard Indeedee set. Tornadus here. Tailwind, Rain Dance, Bleak Wind, Storm, of course. Then you can just opt for something like Protect here, right? And then this Covert Cloak here, again, very solid here. Now, it may look a little weird to have like Covert Cloak and Protect, but it's actually still fine. I've seen this used many, many times, and sometimes you need to be able to protect yourself on that final turn of Tailwind, so this way you can, you know, survive the turn and then be able to click Tailwind again the next turn once your Tailwind does expire. Couple Terras here, you can always go Dark here, right, just so that you can have anti-taunt resistance. Otherwise, you know, Steel is also pretty good here for the Rock and Ice weakness, and then at the same time, you know, with the Steel weakness, again, just being able to have those resistances against those two type attacks is going to help you a lot. But the Rain is helping the Steel Terra, right? Because again, with Rain, as a Steel type in Rain, you take reduced fire damage, so that also helps a lot as well. And you know, with the Urshifu here, you can still go like Terra Water here. You have a Sash anyway, but this is just a standard Surging Strikes, Close Combat, Aqua Jet, and the idea for Protect, of course, in that last slot here. The Regidrago we've already talked about already, with the 2 dragon moves, the Earth Power, and then Protect, and then Ogerpon here, again, the standard set that we already mentioned. So this is like the open team sheet paste, and like I said, some of the items can vary here. You could even put Safety Goggles Indeedee here. You could put Rocky Helmet Tornadus here. You can put Mystic Water Ursh here. Lots of different builds with the items, but at the very least, the same 6. You're gonna see a lot in terms of like the first standard rendition of the hyper offensive Psyspam shenanigans with Iron Crown here. Okay, so now let's put some basic EVs here and let's show you a couple test games with this type of team. All right, so let's start here with the Iron Crown. So the easy way to EV an Iron Crown for a team like this is to just simply max its speed here, right? Go to 165. And this is important because at the very least, a max speed Iron Crown will outspeed a Choice Scarf max speed Urshifu. So you can always consider that. And then from here, the special attack, the number that you want to put here is 172 investment in the EVs, right? Just because now the special attacking stat is 164, whereas your speed is 165. So this way you undercut your threshold by 1. So when you have the booster energy, you will get the speed boost. Okay, then after that, you can just put 1 point in the bulk like this. And then after that, just dump the rest of these EVs into your HP stat. Very common EV spread for Iron Crown. Again, this is just to make sure that you get the speed boost here, right? And even though you don't have max EVs in your special attack, you have the boost already from expanding force, right? You're a very hard-hitting Iron Crown regardless. Okay, now a helping hand Indeedee, it's gonna help you do more damage. Again, you have the terrain, so you don't really need all that damage. And the dark types are gonna come in and neutralize it anyway. Just regular expanding force with this EV investment, with the terrain and the helping hand as an option, it's gonna do a lot of damage. Indeedee, I just kept this relatively standard. I just went relaxed nature, 0 speed here, just to keep things relatively easy to jump onto ladder and start playing. Just 252. That's really all you need. If you have your own Indeedee spread, feel free to use it. This is just the one that I've been using. Tornadus here. With something like this, with Torn, you can always go super bulky here. So you can either just go like timid here with just max speed, and then with this investment 212, 36, this is pretty good against like Urshifu, the Terra Water Surging Strike stuff, and then just put 1 point in the special attack and 1 point in the special defense. You don't really need damage on this Tornadus. You just need to be able to survive, take hits, and then just click Tailwind and or Rain Dance. Urshifu here, same thing. You're a Sashmon here. Just go Adamant 252. That's really all you need out of this. Okay, Regidrago, same idea. You can go Modest 252, or you can either go Adamant 252. I'm sorry, Modest or Timid. Either way, whichever one you prefer. Regardless, I still think it's a 252 set. If you have your own Regidrago idea, feel free to use it. But I think with a hyper aggressive team like this, it's just easy to start with the 252 idea. And then with Ogerpon, I like this idea where I hit the first benchmark here in the attacking stat, right? 76, Adamant 76 is your first bump there. And if you don't know what EV bumps are, make sure you comment in the video below asking what are EV bumps. I say this in every team building video, but it's a very important skill to understand when team building. So if you don't know what bumps are, comment below what are EV bumps. I have a whole video on this. If you look in the video description below, it's posted in every single video titled what are EV bumps. But if you don't know what they are, comment and I will reply and respond to you. But here's the first bump there. And then I just go 188.52 here. This is a very common defensive EV spread for Ogerpons. This is going to help you survive the Terra Water Adamant Surging Strikes from an Urshifu. And then from here, you can just go to the 154 mark here. That's pretty good against like the modest max speeds that just aren't in their speed nature. So again, like for example, a max speed Entei or max speed ChiYu, they're base 100s. But if they're just modest / adamant, then you're still going to be able to outspeed them anyway. But, and you just have 1 point remaining in the speed, just dump it there. But you have exactly what you need anyway. Just the first benchmark here with the defensive calc against the Urshifu here, right? And this is pretty much it. This is a very easy team that you could build to start out and hop onto ladders, right? And we've seen this type of team before, right? This is nothing new. We saw this in the first go around of Regulation F last year, and it's pretty much the same idea this year. It's not my favorite hyper offensive variant, but it is a form of hyper offensive variant that you could use with Iron Crown. So you could easily just use this. So let's just go ahead and jump on into a couple games to show you how it works. Okay, so this player has a weird variant of Rain with Tornadus, Archelodon, and Pelipper there. I understand the idea with Mouse Hold. Again, maybe beat up shenanigans. Looks like Overquill might even be, Swift Swim, for example. And then he's got a Sneasler there. No Indeedee on his side, but there is a Sneasler there. So this is a great Regidrago game, right? If you can get in position. And the reason I say that is because there's not a whole lot of Dragon Resist off the top of the board state here. There's no Fairy type on him. And, even the Archelodon doesn't resist the Dragon Energy, right? So unless he has a defensive Fairy Terra on some of these, or at least like a Steel Terra, the Dragon move is going to look very, very good. But I also want to just start off with Urshifu just in case he does lead Rain. And at the same time, I still want to have my own Tailwind, so that way I can still be aggressive in the Rain. And again, I do have the Sash, so I'm still looking pretty good there if I have to rely on it. But that is just my thought process when looking at this board state here. So he's going to lead with Overquill and Tornadus. Could even just be Rain Dance here to activate Swift Swim or something like that. Could even just be Tailwind. So I'm just going to go ahead and see what he wants. I'm just going to click Tailwind here into the Torn. Now, he does have good EVs here. He's going to live the Urshifu, as do most Tornadus here. Clicks Bar Barrage anyway, right? So not the idea I was expecting there, but he just clicked Raw, Bleak Wind, and Raw Attack there. So no Tailwind for him, right? I'm going to go ahead and go into Indeedee here just to get off my terrain here. Not that I was going to need it, but here he doesn't outspeed me. Now, you know, Overcoat's supposed to have a higher base speed than Regidrago, but it looks like he's the, you know, the adamant variant rather than the speed variant. So that meant I got to kill him. And now look, there's nothing resisting Dragon Energy, right? He has no choice. He just straight up drops here. And the Indeedee with the Helping Hand and Regidrago with the Dragon item is just able to sweep completely everything that he's got there. So I just think he had some interesting EVs there on that Overcoat. Maybe he's not even just accounting for Regidrago, but I think that's wrong in something like that there. But again, you know, you just look at team preview. If he doesn't have that fairy type, if he has no Flutter Mane, then Regidrago is a safe bring, and it's a good bring because there wasn't a lot of Dragon resist on his side. And, you know, with the Indeedee there, and I noticed the Sneasler, there was no, you know, unburdened Psychic Seed stuff, so it was just free to click my move because I already had Tailwind up. Okay, so here we're playing some form of the mirror here. So he's got his own Iron Crown variant, right? He's got his own Tailwind setter, he's got his Ogerpon Hard Flame, and he's got the Indeedee over there, right? And I would imagine that Whimsicott has Sunny Day because I see 2 Photosynthesis Mons, I see an Ogerpon Hard Flame there, so he's got a pretty cool team. And I wouldn't put it past his Whimsicott to even have something like Fake Tears because he's got a bunch of special attackers here. So this is where something like, you know, Rain Dance Tornadus could be really helpful here just to be able to take away Sunny Day, right? And then at the same time, I don't have to bring my own Indeedee, right? If he brings his own Indeedee, that helps my Iron Crown right off the rip. So what I'm going to do is not bring my Indeedee, but it's still bring my speed with the Tornadus here. And I still will bring the Iron Crown here just because it looks good into a lot of what he has, with the exception of his own Iron Crown, right? So there's Walking Wake, and there is the Whimsicott. So there could be Sunny Day here, which is fine. I have the option for Rain Dance if I need to. There's the Sunny Day. This is fine. I have the speed. So this way, this means that if you don't go for your Tailwind, that means you die, right? Because you went for your Sunny Day, and I'll trade you. So I traded the Iron Crown for Whimsicott. Not a very favorable trade by any means, right? But at the very least, I still have the speed control on my side. And now you made my Ogerpon stronger because now I have a harder hitting Ivy Cudgel. So there's the Follow Me, right? I missed with the Bleak Wind, but I hit the Indeedee, and I get to bop it on the head with the Ivy Cudgel there. So I actually take out 2 of his support mons, and he's down to Walking Wake and something else there, right? And Weather Ball's not enough to kill. And now he's got the Terra Water Iron Crown on his side, which I figured he might try because, again, you know, it's in front of a fire type attack. I wanted to see what he would try and do. I could have even read that and just hit him with the Wood Hammer, but I didn't feel like I needed to make that read just yet. So Expanding Force does a lot because, again, he is an Iron Crown, but it's speed nature. And again, the Walking Wake is a special attacking nature mon here, right? And he had the Spidef boost because of the Psychic Seeds. So Wood Hammer does enough chip there, and Walking Wake is a single target nuke mon, so only the Ogerpon drops here. So now I'm down to Tornadus and my Ursh here, right? And now I can just go for Terra Water so I don't die to Expanding Force, right? I just hit the Walking Wake for big damage. And if he goes for Expanding Force now, that's okay. This is where the Sash really helps me. And I know from this range, the Urshifu can pick up the Iron Crown here. And that's exactly what I was doing. I went for the close combat, and I picked up the Iron Crown there. So very close game there. I feel like I could have played it a little bit better, but I thought with what tools I had, you know, again, I traded the Iron Crown for Whimsicott there. Maybe not the best kind of trade, I would say, but his Walking Wake lead was pretty good. But in the end, again, he did go for Sunny Day. I could have even clicked Rain Dance in that situation, but it still worked out for us in the end. All right, so this is a weird Roaring Moon team here. He's got Grimmsnarl support, which is very good. He's got Volcarona there with the setup. Indeedee Male and Sneasler there. So that tells me that's probably Psychic Seeds and Unburdened, which means even if I click Tailwind, my Regidrago shouldn't be able to outspeed him anyway. So that is noted, and he might even just be Tailwind Roaring Moon anyway. But still, I want to bring the Regidrago, even though it doesn't look super amazing, just because, again, there is a Grimmsnarl there. I can outspeed the Roaring Moon if I have the Tailwind, right, which is good. And I also have my Ogerpon, and I do like what my Ogerpon can give me here, just because again I can bop that Volcarona on the head if he brings it. Same with the Amoonguss, and the male Indeedee, again, I don't think it really helps him here. And at the same time, I also have my own Tornadus, which looks good into a lot of his mons, especially the Amoonguss and the Volcarona. So he's got a couple of flying weeks and a couple of things susceptible to the IV Cudgel that I have here. Again, only the Roaring Moon is able to survive that. But I still like what I have here. So he's gonna go with Grimmsnarl, as he should, right? And Volcarona. So this way he kind of makes me think about the Regidrago lead here. So I brought Indeedee Regidrago here. This could even just be Quiver Dance stuff. So I'm just gonna go into Ogerpon, get a physical mon on the board. I know he doesn't want to click Thunder Wave, right? Because again, I have the terrain up. So there's the Quiver Dance. But now I click Trick Room, and that was my whole point of bringing the Indeedee here, right? Because now I have the slower Ogerpon in Trick Room there, Terra Fire here. I don't think I needed to click Follow Me there because I probably just bopped the Volcarona anyway, right? I could have even just clicked Dazzling Gleam, and that probably would have helped me a little bit more on this turn, because you'll see how the Grimmsnarl survives here, right? So there's another Follow Me. I wanted to just protect my Ogerpon here, but I didn't think I needed to do this, right? Because look at this, right? Ivy Cudgel just barely missing the KO on the Grim. The Dazzling Gleam would have made a huge difference here, but now I'm in this situation, right? So Spirit Break into Ogerpon, fine. Again, I go for the Earth Power just to kill the Grimmsnarl, so this way I can click Dragon Energy. But this is, again, going back to my misplay with the Indeedee here, and this is why I'm in this situation. So I'm just going to have to repivot. It's my last turn of Trick Room. I know he just wants to try and double protect and stall it out. That's why I got the Tornadus in. And I do see that he got the Unburden boost there. Okay, but I still want some damage on the board. So even though I know the Sneasel outspeeds, I still go for the Dragon Energy anyway, right? There's the Dire Claw. And again, I don't have any status, so that's good. Just a little bit of chip. He crits my Regidrago, but again, he's got the attack boost anyway. But now this might help me, kill, because it puts things in range for the Ogerpon. That speed drop helps me a lot because that lets my Ogerpon outspeed the Sneasler, which meant I get to kill the Roaring Moon first. And now the Sneasler goes after me, right? So had he not gotten that speed drop, the Sneasler gets to kill the Ogre first before I get to kill the Roaring Moon. He probably wins. But because I got the speed drop, that let me outspeed the Roaring Moon and allowed me to kill it first, and then allowed him to go after me, right? But I had already taken the Roaring Moon off the board there. So a little bit of a mess up from me, even though we did come out on top there. Again, if I played the Indeedee a little bit better, just reading that or accounting for that, again, just the Dazzling Gleam would have been a lot better than clicking Follow Me there. I didn't really have anything to be afraid of, per se. I was able to not take super effective damage from the Roaring Moon, so I didn't think I was afraid of acrobatics per se. So yeah, the Dazzling Gleam was just always safe in that situation. Okay, so let's say you still like playing the hyper offensive way, but you didn't necessarily like Regidrago. So what else could go in this last slot here? I think another special attacker would be fit. Like if you do something in like Landorus over here, so the double genie idea with Rain Dance and Sandsear Storm, that is an option here. Or you could always just add something like a Fluttermane here for instant offense. You get another special attacker that's super strong here with something like a Choice Specs that can also benefit from Tailwind support here. That's also really nice. And then you could even just go for a Sunny Day and boost up your Fluttermane and your Ogerpon here, and then maybe even turn this, instead of like the Surging Strikes Urshifu, turn this into like the Single Strike Urshifu. That's also a possibility if you want to play towards something like that. But I think with this one, we'll just show you the Landorus idea. So this way you have this synergy with the double genies, and this will have the Life Orb item in itself, right? So this is an easy replacement for Regidrago, right? Again, it's faster than Regidrago, and the ground coverage is very much appreciated, along with the poison, for some of these grass types that are running around as well. So again, very easily, Earth Power, Sandsear Storm, your single target, and your spread move there, along with something like Sludge Bomb here with the Terra Poison is going to be nice. And then just straight up protect. This is the very easy replacement that you can do, right? And again, we'll use the Landorus spread that we've been using throughout Regulation F with this 84-44 defensive spread. Again, that's just for Surging Strikes after you Terra, and then just rounding it out here with something like this. Now, what I will say is with the Urshifu. We don't have to go with the Sash here, right? Again, like I said, we can go with the Mystic Water here, which is what a lot of Urshifus decide to do, and then we can even just go with Terra Steel here for a defensive Terra, which is really nice in the rain. So this way you take less damage from a fire type attack in case they want to click that into you. But you know, with Surging Strikes, Close Combat, and Detect here, that's fine. We've seen Taunt here, especially at the regional level from a few players, right? As well as some of the bigger online tours. Taunt is really nice. Again, being able to shut down setup, shut down redirection, or other annoying moves. Urshifu can do that for you. But a spread that we decided to go with here, we went with 60 HP investment along with 124 special defense. This is good enough to survive the Timid 252 Bleakwind Storm from a Tornadus. And then at the same time, if you Terra Steel here, that'll turn a Moonblast 252 Choice Specs Fluttermane into a 3-hit KO. A very, very strong, favorable roll there. And then these 324 EVs, these are just like leftover. Let's hit the second bump here, right? The first one's going to be here at 76, so another 80 EVs. We'll hit the second one here at 156. And then after that, we'll just dump the rest here into speed, right? 138 is a pretty good speed tier. And then this last point here, we'll just go in defense. And really, that's really what it comes down to. Now, with this Tornadus here, we don't even have to go with Protect here. I think we can even just go for Icy Wind for a little bit more speed control there, right? And again, this is this bulk again survives the Mystic Water Urshifu Surging Strikes. You know, with the 212 HP investment, 36 defense here. And the Indeedee can stay the same. The Iron Crown here can also stay the same. Ogerpon here also more or less stays the same. And this is, again, another rendition. Let me just reorganize what we've got here. So I kind of like the genies together here. So this way you see like the 2-2-2 idea with Iron Crown Indeedee, Tornadus Landorus, Fire Water Grass here with Tornadus and Ogerpon here. And this is, again, another rendition that you can play with Iron Crown on Tailwind support. Are there other ones? Absolutely, but I'm just showing you like a non-Regidrago variant that I think is still like relatively solid and very easy to pick up and play. So something like this can always work. So let's go ahead and show you a couple of test games with this one. Okay, he's got a weird Hisuian Zoroark team here with some hyper offensive options like Whimsicott, and the Blood Moon Ursaluna could be some fake tier stuff, especially with Goldengo there. That looks like a regulation. Yeah, that looks like a regulation H team. If I have ever seen it, but it still works here. Now, that being said, okay, we are still mindful of a couple of their types. Again, the Dark type from the Incineroar means Expanding Force, won't be able to hit that. We can hit everything else besides that one. Now, he's got the Dragon Knight there, which can easily click, you know, his spam moves if he has it, but this doesn't look like that kind of Dragonite here. So the typing is what's important there, right? Because again, we can't click a ground move there. He resists the water move there. So we do have to be a little bit mindful of the Dragonite there if it is something like multi-skill or something, right? But anyway, we can just play around with our tools here because again, we are the more aggressive team there. I think because he doesn't have as much legendaries as what we have, we have better stats on our mons here. So Indeedee Iron Crown here, I could easily just click, you know, Helping Hand, Terra Blast, Terra Water, and probably pick up a KO here. But I played it a little bit safe just to see what he might try and do. He clicked Fake out there. I guess he forgot what Psychic Terrain is supposed to do there. So I end up getting punished here for a little bit, right? Because again, follow me. Again, I could have blasted the instant there. I chose to chip the Ursaluna instead, right? So that's fault on us there, right? Look at all this hyper voice damage. And then Life Orb chip from the Ursaluna. So anyway, Whimsicott here. Again, follow me. He just goes for his own Tailwind. So he gets the free switch into something else that can take advantage of the Tailwind, right? We don't know what else he has besides the instant. And now we know it's the Goldengo here. So I want to just stagger my mons here and not get all of them KO'd. So I'll give him the Indeedee if he wants to go for it. Whereas Iron Crown, I kind of want to save. Okay. And now we can bring in our own Tornadus, right? So that means we get to click our own Tailwind. And now we can click Expanding Force into his Goldengo, which is fine. And he clicks Make It Rain. We live, right? Because again, there's no Life Orb on that Goldengo. And we are Terra Water, we're able to resist. So now he just only has his Incineroar left, which is fine by us. We can just protect there, right? Fake out. Now, again, we have Rain Dance here because we got Urshifu in the back that can finish things off here. So it's totally fine. Okay, Terra Blast, just nuke the Incin, right? We could have even, just nuked the Goldangle, but I think just forcing the 2v1 here was fine. Now, he ended up just going for Shadow Ball here instead of another Make It Rain, which is fine. Now, the game is over because we have Urshifu in the Rain and a +1. Even if he, went for a Make It Rain there, it's still not really going to help him if he picked up the Tornadus the previous turn there. So, Urshifu in the end game, right, just to clean things up there. But I think in the opening turns, I probably could have played it a little bit cleaner. All right, another Ursaluna team. This time, it's a Trick Room team along with Tailwind support. So still kind of like a similar idea to what our previous opponent was using, but he has an Ogerpon here to help him out along with a Tornadus. I like this team a little bit better than the other guy's team. It just makes a little bit more sense here. But again, we are wary of the Tornadus and what it could do. We're also aware of the Trick Room idea from the Furgraph there. Either way, we have tools. So he's going to lead with Furgraph and Incineroar. Very typical lead. Just fake out, Trick Room, Parting Shot into Ursaluna. That's pretty standard. But if we nuke already, then we can get the Incin off the board, which is kind of what I want. So I just want a Helping Hand Earth Power. That is as soft as I've ever seen it, right? There's no reason why that Incin lives there. Knock off. Again, the Rocky Helmet picks up the KO, free switch into Ursaluna. So now we're in some trouble here because he can just easily Helping Hand and Blood Moon stuff, or Helping Hand, Hyper Voice. And he does go for the Hyper Voice there. So I just want to stagger the mons here like I was doing before and kind of stall out the Trick Room there. It's actually Throat Spray Ursaluna. That's going to be painful here. Okay, so now he goes into the Landorus. The Lando lives that first one, but we don't take two. But we do have Expanding Force Pressure, and now that Ursaluna will get KO'd next turn if he does decide to do it. But again, I'm still in Trick Room, so I'm just going to protect one slot here. I don't think he can KO both here, right? He's very tempted to kill the Iron Crown. I know the Ogerpon lives, fortunately, and I'm able to remove the Ursaluna, right? So that benefits me. It's Amoonguss on this last turn. I just don't want to get spored here, and I know the Furgraph can't really kill the Iron Crown here. And the Dazzling Gleam, even if it does kill the Ogerpon, it's fine because Expanding Force just wipes him anyway the next turn, and then we can just click Tachyon Cutter the next turn regardless. Even if he did pick up the Ogerpon. Now the Trick Room is gone. Now Ogerpon can sweep, but it doesn't matter anyway because my Iron Crown is faster and we can click Tachyon Cutter there. So even though he got his Trick Room up, he couldn't really take advantage because I was staggering my protects, okay? And he wasn't really hitting me for super effective damage. And I have some bulk on some of these mons, like my Ogerpon and Landorus, so I'm able to withstand at least one of those hits and, survive the Trick Room turns and then finish him off. Okay, another Trick Room team. This one, he's got Rillaboom and Incineroar, along with Furgraph and Fluttermane there. So, again, there is a Torkoal there, so he can definitely do the same idea. Incin, Furgraph, leave, fake out Parting Shot, into the Torkoal, set up Trick Room with Furgraph. He can easily do that. The Torkoal could be supportive there with like Heat Rock, Yawn, Helping Hand pressure with the Fluttermane there. Lots of options here, but I just think my Landorus looks really good into what he has. So it's Furgraph, Torkoal. I'm going to go with Landorus, Tornadus here. And the reason for that is so this way I can just remove his weather immediately, even if he does hard switch, right? So Rain Dance comes out. Sandstorm Storm looks good. Okay, he gets up Trick Room, which is fine. What can the Torkoal do in Trick Room when I have Rain? Not a whole lot, right? So he goes into Rillaboom, but we have the pin because even if he resists the ground move, it's fine. We have the Bleak Windstorm here, right? So Sandstorm Storm picks up the Furgraph, doesn't do a whole lot into Rillaboom, but single target Bleak Wind does, and it gets off the field, and Rillaboom just goes splat, right? So now he goes into Torkoal yet again. He has the sun back in his favor, but we still have our Tornadus. We can change the weather, and this is exactly what I was talking about. Terra Water Fluttermane for the Surging Strikes Ursh. That's okay, right? Because now the Yawn comes out from the Torkoal. That's okay. That means Sandstorm Storm picks up. That's too much damage into the Fluttermane. He can't really do a whole lot here. He clicks Power Gem of all moves, and even though the Tornadus has to switch here, it doesn't really matter. I have more than enough in the back because it's basically 4v1 at this point. And, with so many Trick Room turns left, that's just going to benefit us. All right, one more hyper offensive variation. We won't show you like test games with this one because it kind of more or less plays very similarly. But another thing you can also consider is, like we mentioned earlier, use the single strike Urshifu instead, and then just have the Fluttermane as your other special attacker with choice specs. You can always do something like this. And now if you really want ground coverage, you could add Stomping Tantrum to this Ogerpon if you're going to sacrifice the Landorus in exchange. You can definitely do 3 moves here, right? Stomping Tantrum, Ivy Cudgel, Wood Hammer. That also works here. With this Urshifu, again, this could, you know, if you really want to, you can even put the Sash here on this Ursh, or you can even go Band. I think either one is fine. And then even like with this Tornadus, you can go with a Sunny Day Tornadus. I think that also works. So Tailwind, Sunny Day, Bleak Wind Storm, and Icy Wind, that is also a rendition you can do. And then with this Urshifu here, you can sash this thing, right? And then just go, you know, just something like Terra Dark here. Or you can even just go like Stellar Terra here. Either way, Wicked Blow, Close Combat, Sucker Punch, and then just straight up Detect, right? But if you like the Band variant, like you could just go Choice Band here, Wicked Blow, Close Combat. Then you can go Terra Steel, Iron Head, right? That also works too. That'll help you pick up Flutter Mane. And then one other move here, you can even do something like U-turn here and just pivot out. That's also something that you can consider. Whichever way you like to play the Ursh is up to you. I'm just throwing out options over here. But again, the Sash Ursh is still totally fine, along with the Dark Terra here, right, for a little bit more stronger. Wicked Blow if you have to go for it. But either way is up to you, right? And then the Flutter Mane here with Choice Specs here with Terra Fairy. Very easily, you can just go for Moonblast and Dazzling Gleam, your single target and your spread fairy damage there. This is where you can go with Shadow Ball here. This is one of the few Flutter Manes where we're not giving up the Ghost move, right? So this is nice into stuff like Goldango, and then Power Gem here for something like Incineroar. And that's also like relatively standard as far as like our Flutter Mane here. Okay, and then with a speed set here, we can just go to like 190 here. That's already good enough for Roaring Moon. And then, you know, we just go like 176 investment here. Again, in the sun, this is great into like Urshifu. That's already all we need. And then, you know, just all this investment here. Actually, I think it's like 68 here, right? Something like this. This is all we really need. Get the Flutter Mane up to a solid even number here, which is really nice. And again, Choice Specs in the sun. Again, we're gonna get the speed boost here, but you know, Terra Fairy Choice Specs, it's gonna hurt, right? It's not like it's paper. So I like this Flutter Mane set here. And again, with this Ursh, you can just go Adamant 2v2. You have the Sash anyway, it's fine, right? This is Booster, Rocky Helmet, Cobra Cloak still. Sunny Day Tornadus, like I said. Ogerpon here is still the same. Again, all we did was just add Stomping Tantrum there. And this is another Iron Crown variant that you can definitely take advantage of, right? And you can even just do like Tornadus, Flutter Mane stuff, right? And Ogerpon, Urshifu stuff. So again, super aggressive team. Okay, if you really want to do something like this, and then at the same time, you know, you could even go like Terra Grass Indeedee, if that helps you a little bit, right? Instead of Fairy. So here you can even go like Terra Grass. That can help you against like the Urshifu stuff, or even like Amoonguss support there besides just your only Ogerpon here. That's something that you can do. But these six have been used in Toronto. I think Alex in Buffet used this 6. I think he had a slightly different build than what we had there. I think he had a banded Ursh there. We'll have to take a look at that. And I actually think he had a Whimsicott instead of the Tornadus there, but it still functions more or less the same idea. You got your speed control move, you got your weather changing move, right? Then you get your stab move, whether it be Moonblast or Bleak Wind. I just like Tornadus a little bit more in this format than Whimsicott. I think it's the better of the two. And then, like I said earlier, like Icy Wind support here is just really, really solid into like the Tailwind mirrors. So even this variant is something that you can definitely use. But now let's look at some other ideas. And now let's now explore some Calm Mind stuff. Okay, so with Calm Mind, Iron Crown here, the idea is that you're boosting your special attack and your special defense damage. So now you're going to have harder hitting Expanding Forces, and you're going to have a harder hitting Tacking Cutters. And then now you're going to boost yourself on the special defense side. And ideally, you could partner this with Incineroar. So now you have physical attack damage reduction with Intimidate. And look at your bulk, like 100 base defense along with 108 special defense. Like those are good stats. Okay, triple digit stats are good. now you add the special boost of the Calm Mind and the reduction for Intimidate. Now the Iron Crown all of a sudden becomes hard to remove because this thing is going to be cycling in and out. You always have Calm Minds, you know, at your disposal. So all of a sudden Iron Crown needs investment in resources to be able to take off the board, right? And you're still going to have Indeedee, of course, to give you said Psychic Terrain advantage, right? So where do you go from here? So now with Incin, you still want your Fire, Water, Grass core, right? So now let's go the other Ogerpon route. Let's go Ogerpon Wellspring. And now we have another redirector that we can use at our disposal, right, with the Ogerpon here. So we got 2 Follow Me users, right? We've got Intimidate and Fake Out Pressure coming from the Incineroar. So we have our tools that we need. And now all of a sudden, these last 2 slots here are very easy to build, right? You can just add some easy staples like Urshifu here with the Surging Strikes one. And then you can even just add something like Landorus over here, you know, just to round it out very, very nicely. So with this kind of team, again, with the double up on the water types here, this is, I believe this is Federico's team from Toronto Regionals. And it just makes sense, right? Because again, with Iron Crown, Calm Mind setup, and then Assault Vest Incineroar, by the way, was the build that he had. And it was, and AV Incin is like so good just because you have more leeway in surviving, you know, Earth Powered Landers, right? And you kind of saw it in one of our other test games, how it did live that. So I think AV Incin is really, really good right now. And, you know, with this, you're still going with Booster Energy, right? And, you know, we've seen this before from like Raging Bolts too. So like if Raging Bolt can do this, why can't Iron Crown? I think Raging Bolt is the better option, but Iron Crown can still more or less do this as well. Dragon Terra is pretty good. You know, we saw Federico do this, but, you know, this is just for like resistances because again, you're weak to fire. So might as well go with Dragon. You neutralize the ground weakness. Same thing with the ghost weakness, right? And even the dark weakness. So now the Dragon just neutralizes all of that. And Indeedee can just pretty much still be like the same, right? So we can still do like Rocky Helmet shenanigans, right? Just like Follow Me, Helping Hand, Trick Room stuff. So that's always going to be okay. Now here, you could either do like Dazzling Gleam or you can do Psychic. You can still keep things the same with like Terra Fairy, Dazzling Gleam if you really want to. Okay, I think Federico was like Psychic here, but really that move is situational. It's up to you, right? If you want Psychic, fine, right? Then you just do Psychic. If you want Dazzling Gleam, you know, to be able to hit the other dark types and have another spread move there, then you can go Dazzling Gleam. It's okay. The Incin there, Fake Out, Flare Blitz, of course, Knock Off, and then your pivot move is U-Turn. And usually we like these Incineroars to be adamant, so this way we can get a little bit boost in our damage, right? And be a damage dealer on this type of team there. And then Ogerpon, again, we're just going to be going with like Ivy Cudgel, right? And then just Horn Leech, Follow Me, and then just Spiky Shield here. Okay, and this Urshifu, we can just easily just go like Focus Sash here, right? Sash Ursh, right? We can go Stellar Terra, Water Terra, either one's okay. Surging Strikes is Combat, Aqua Jet, and then just straight up Detect / Protect. And then the Landers here, your Life Orb set, your very standard Life Orb. Again, this could be Steel Terra, this could be Poison Terra, whichever one you prefer. We did Poison in the other one, let's go Steel this time. You can do Earth Power, Sludge Bomb, and then Substitute / Protect just to help you in the Trick Room matchup. If you like Sandsear Storm, you can definitely also abuse Sandsear Storm if that is something that you like. But, you know, if you want to go with the sub idea, so this way when you're up against those Trick Room teams, you can take the turn to use sub. You can also use your Indeedee, for example, but I believe this is what Federico was using, but I've experimented with both ideas. I think they work well either way. It just depends on you, but if you like this way, then you can definitely use something like this. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do with the Iron Crown in terms of like EVs. We're gonna actually make this relatively slow, but actually like also relatively bulky. So what do I mean by that? So what you can do is we're gonna go modest here. First of all, we're gonna go modest. 1 speed. We're not gonna put any speed on this Iron Crown. This is meant to be like a bulky, you know, setup Iron Crown here. We're gonna go 212 EVs here in HP. This is gonna give us the 192 factor for grassy terrain and the optimal the optimal factor of 16 number for grassy terrain recovery, 1/16 of your health. 36 defense here. This is good enough again for the Sucker Punch Chien Pao, assuming we don't even have Indeedee terrain on our side, right? And then from here, we just need like 2 points here in the SPDEF department just to get that nice even number, and then literally dump the rest here in special tech. 190 even flat, which is great for our Calm Mind idea. So you can see we're pretty bulky on this Iron Crown here. We don't necessarily need speed on this, right? And then the Indeedee, like I said here, you can just easily just go for Relaxed Nature yet again. So keep things relatively the same with your Indeedee. Again, like I said, if you got your own Indeedee set, feel free to use that. I just needed something to get into testing. The Instant here, so 244 HP investment here along with 92 SPDEF, right? If we're gonna go Adamant, this is good enough for the modest Landorus Earth Power. That's really what I was going for. Adamant 36, this hits the first benchmark there in the attacking stat. A little bit of speed EVs. Again, you can go up to about 85, which is, you know, a pretty good number, especially like under Tailwind support where you outspeed the base 100s. We don't have Tailwind here, but a little bit of speed is good. So this way you can kind of see the interaction with your Intimidate / Fake Outs. So this way, if they outspeed you, you know they have a little bit more speed investment than you, or potentially maybe even just like speed time, for example. And then these 100 EVs, these are just like kind of leftovers. This is pretty good, you know, just for living the -1 close combat from Urshifu anyway. Okay. And also for like Ivy Cudgel Ogre Ponds, the water one. Okay. So this one, well, the Sash Ursh over here, this one, again, we can just go like Adamant Nature. This is fine, right? Just go 252, 252. Now, this Ogre Pond here, I still decided to keep it aggressive. Like, even though we don't really have a whole lot. Normally, I would just go like this Jolly build here with like 196 investment, just to outspeed Landorus, and then just have like a little bit of attack. This is, again, what I normally would do with my Ogre Ponds here. But on this type of team, I went a little bit more aggressive with the Ogre Pond. I decided to go a little bit slower, right? Because, you know, I do have Trickroom on my side. I still wanted to play Adamant there, so I just went about this much there. 137 is still like pretty good, and I went to 76 again, just as the first benchmark there. And you know, we have a lot at our disposal here, but again, I still just kept some EVs like this. Actually, I think I went like max HP here. You know, this is already pretty good for like living Sludge Bomb stuff, but you know, all this bulk here, if you Terra this, you know, you got a nice good SPDEF number there, and now you have defensive EVs. This Ogre Pond becomes relatively hard to remove at the same time. But this is also a spread that I've been toying around with, and it works out relatively well. So feel free to give it a shot. If you want me to explain a little bit more, you can comment. But that is just the spread I've been using. If you want a little bit more, again, just ask me as to why I did it that way. But the Landorus here, again, I'm still keeping it the same. You know, just max speed timid here. 84-44 again for the Urshifu calc after your Terra is really all we need from this, and still keeping it Terra Steel there, right? So this is the Federico idea. He also had the Dragon Terra Iron Crown there. Grass Ensign is good. Ursh Stellar there, right? And again, you can kind of see how it's supposed to play. We got two redirectors here. We got Fake Out Pressure, right? We have those two important things that we need to create the space to set up the Calm Mind, right? And then, you know, something like Landorus can always just come in and provide instant offense. Urshifu, same thing. You always have Fake Out, Surging Strike, so you can even just lead instant Urshifu stuff as well, if you really have to. But let's show you how this kind of idea plays. Another weird rain team, no Archeladon even. He's got the Basket Legion there with Goldengo. I feel like he just, you know, he took maybe he took out the Archeladon and made it worse, right, by doing this. But nonetheless, he has some still aggressive tools there. Again, we are aware of the Urshifu there, but this is something where like our own Instant and our expanding force is really strong, because Goldengo doesn't like Instant, neither does the Ogre Pond over there. Technically, he can still KO us, but again, we can intimidate it, and then we can also intimidate the Basket Legion there. So we should be fine as long as we position Instant well. But Iron Crown Indeedee is my lead here, and he's going to go with Goldengo and Urshifu. That's perfect for me. This is free Calm Mind if I've ever seen it. I could Expanding Force here, not necessary. I'd rather set up here. Right, and look, it's Surging Strikes into the Rocky Helmet Indeedee. This is why Rocky Helmet is so good. Look at this. It's just free chip damage. This Goldengo is crazy, by the way. He went for Shadow Ball right in front of Indeedee, thinking he could Shadow Ball my Iron Crown there. So free Calm Mind. Okay, now we just go Terra Dragon here in case. So Helping Hand, I don't need to redirect anymore. He still goes for the Indeedee. And now again, this is in Psychic Terrain. So +1 in Psychic Terrain with Helping Hand. Goldango Nasty Plot at full health. It just gets melted by my Expanding Force. So nice Nasty Plot. 3 kills there. Now he has to lead his physical option with Ogerpon. There's the Pelipper. This is fine. Instant looks good here. We have an Assault Vest anyway. Pelipper's not really going to threaten too much. He has Wide Guard. So, you know, again, he's respecting my Expanding Force. Ivy Cudgel, we live. Good EV's Clover, right? And now we just U-turn this Ogre. And again, it's a 2-hit KO there, so we can always repivot out later into our Ogre, which is nice. So his Ogre's at -1, ours isn't. He's forced to keep clicking Wide Guard here. He Horn Leeches me, right? But because we're the slower Ogerpon, we can Horn Leech him back. And ours is better because we're not intimidated. And then we just chip the Pelipper here, right? Again, he can't really beat the Iron Crown. Because we have the Calm Mind boost, and he just forfeits anyway, because again, 2 special attackers against this Iron Crown. We're looking pretty good there. Not 2 special attackers, but we have the Dragon type, which resists the Ogerpon Wellspring, and he can't really hit us very well with the Pelipper because we have the special defense boost. So again, not much else he can really do here. Okay, he's got a very passive team. Instant, Amoonguss, Raichu, and Furgraf. Yes, very, very passive. And Tornadus. That's too much support. Your only aggressor is the Urshifu there. Unless like you might, even if you have like Throat Spray Furgraf, that's not enough. Okay, so we can just be super aggressive here, and then we can still use our setup to just outpace him completely. Raichu means he just really hates Raging Bolt. But we're fine here. This is like easy Calm Mind stuff here. So that's exactly what we're gonna do, right? So I'm just gonna go follow me. Right? He might have Nuzzle, which is why we did this. He clicked Endeavor there, so there goes his Sash. Free Calm Mind. Instinct goes for the knockoff here. He removes the Indeedee, which is, again, still okay. He deals chip damage to himself, and now in comes our Ogerpon here. Okay, we Terra Water just in case. We don't pick up the KO on the Instant. He goes for the Nuzzle anyway, right? So, Para's my Ogre, but that's fine. We hit the Instant first, so that way we don't get to get smacked by it. And then we just hit the Raichu with the E-Force. We don't get paired because we're good. Now he has his Furgraf and his Urshifu there. This is fine. He tears the Ursh, right? He's scared of the Ogerpon and, of course, the Iron Crown here. And we live Surging Strikes because we're super bulky, which is important, right? And, again, we chip the Ursh, right? But there's the Hyper Voice. The Iron Crown lives because we have the Spadef boost there. So we're very fortunate. And now we just melt with the Expanding Force. That's over 50% to the Furgraf there. I just spite him. You know, I could have just easily Ivy Cudgel. I probably should have just Ivy Cudgel. I don't even need to Horn Leash there. But again, you know, you see the benefit of the Calm Mind and having a ton of investment in your HP and defense, because you can live physical hits, and then at the same time you can tank special hits like you just saw over there. Okay, so for the last Calm Mind variation, this is Ethan's team from Toronto. And now Ethan had an interesting idea. He said, let's combine the Calm Mind concept with the Hyper Aggression from Tornadus. And, you know, this is what he was using. So all we did was just slap on EVs here, which we featured and used on the channel before. Ogerpon spread still stays the same. Our Flutter Mane spread is also more or less the same with Sunny Day. And then Indeedee and Iron Crown, the same set, right? We didn't change anything really with the Iron Crown. I think we added a little bit more speed, but even then, it's still more or less the same thing. So you can use the other Iron Crown spread if you want. The Ursh here is the Choice Scarf Ursh, along with the U-turn pivot move there, and then Tornadus with Cobra Cloak Terra Dark. Does have Taunt instead of something like Icy Wind. We do have the Icy Wind on the Flutter Mane there. So if you want to go for Taunt, you know, you can definitely do that. But shout out to Ethan for a good result at Toronto. All we did was just use his 6 and then just slap on these EVs. But again, familiar idea where we can still use the Flutter Mane onto a team like this with choice specs. Again, just be super aggressive, right? Because the Iron Crown can't only be our main special attack damage dealer in some cases, because it takes time to set up. I'd rather have instant offense with Flutter, so you can easily just do like Sunny Day Flutter Mane stuff, or like, you know, Tailwind, and then go for Sunny Day if you have to, or you can even do like Tornadus Ogerpon leads, right, with Flutter Mane in the back, right? But you can see the multiple modes on this type, and you still have that Fire Water Grass combination with Urshifu and Heartflame here. So if you want to go for the Calm Mind idea, you still have it, right? You still have the double redirector, right, with Indeedee and Ogre. There's no fake out user from Instant in this sense, but again, you still have aggression with Flutter Mane and something like Urshifu there. So like you still have a physical and special breaker that you can have on your team. And in some cases, you can go for this 1v1 situation where it's your Iron Crown versus a special attacker, and then just keep clicking Calm Minds and then just wall them out, and then finally just go for the KO if you have to. So you can always just go with that. And then Imprison Trick Room is also very nice against like other Trick Room teams, but this is what Ethan was using, so shout out to them. All we just did was just slap on some EVs here. But let's just show you a couple games with this, and then we'll lay out all the pace one more time, and then they will also be in the video description. But at the very least, we want to put everything on the screen so this way you can see everything from start to finish. But let's see some test games with this team. Okay, so he's got a hyper aggressive team of his own. He's got Regidrago instead of the Flutter Mane there. Usually you see a Flutter Mane on a team like this. It's the Glomora HO stuff there, so interesting choice. I think he might even just bring it. So let's see. I'm going to go with Tornadus Flutter Mane just in case, and he does go with the Alecki. Could even just be E-Web spam, could nuke my Tornadus. So I'm going to go Terra Fairy right away. I'm going to go Tailwind just to try and outspeed the Alecki. Dazzling does a lot. Their Alecki lives. Thunder Cage is a choice. Okay, and it's Life Orb Alecki, right? Ivy Cudgel went into the Tornadus instead of the Flutter Mane there. And then again, I'm taking damage over time. So I'm going to go into Heart Flame here because, again, Flutter outspeeds everything here because we have the Tailwind. So goodbye Ogerpon. You choose not to Terra that. So again, melts. And now he goes into Earth. So now I have to be careful here, right? Again, he actually has E-Speed Alecki. So he takes the fall in himself, right? And that was interesting, right? Because again, he was Life Orb. We survived the Wicked Blow because Ogerpon has good EVs. He Terra Darked, but again, we're fine. And this game is pretty much over because he can't really outspeed anymore. And all I have to do is just hit the ChiYu, and then I can just 1v1 the Urshifu after that. So Surging Strikes comes out. Right, goodbye ChiYu there. We're fine here. I could have even hit the Ursh and then hit the ChiYu. Either way, it didn't matter because now we just, Sucker Punch was never KO. We just Surging Strikes this Ursh. Again, hyper aggressive teams like this versus ours, the turns are gonna go quick. But Alecki was a choice. But again, you saw how I led the Flutter Mane and had instant offense with the choice specs, and he couldn't really recover after that. He was just so behind already. And we were so ahead that it really didn't matter what we did after that because the Flutter was just too aggressive. Okay, this is that double Genie Goldango Landorus idea here that we've seen running around a little bit. But again, it doesn't change our goals. We still have a lot of what we need. Again, he's going to go Torn Ursh. That's fine. Very standard lead. We're going to go Flutter and Indeedee here just to be able to, click Helping Hand or just protect my Flutter Mane here. Does go for Tailwind. Again, this is fine. He Wicked Blows my Flutter Mane. We have enough bulk there because we have Terra Fairy. D-Gleam comes out, right? And I click D-Gleam on the Indeedee as well just to, again, go through the sash on the Urshifu there. So that's very advantageous for us. He goes into Landorus here, right? And I'm going to make a very cheeky play because, again, by me pivoting into my Tornadus, his Landorus can't kill me if he goes for the Earthquake play, which is exactly what he did. And now we live that, and I know he's banded, so we killed the Tornadus, and now he's stuck clicking Earthquake, which means he can't beat my Tornadus anymore. All we have to really worry about is Goldango, which we can beat in the back as long as we get Tailwind up. He goes for a Nasty Plot. He actually has no choice but to kill his own Goldango, which is kind of funny because he was locked into that with the band, and it didn't matter what we brought in because, again, he cannot beat my Tornadus because he is locked completely into the ground in there. So we trapped him a little bit with the pivot. And as long as we pick up the KO, we just won the game. All right, one more here. So it looks like we got the aggression with the Flutter Mane ChiYu there. He's got Tornadus. Now, he does have the Ogerpon Wellspring with the Blood Moon Ursaluna, but there's no Trick Room on his side. So he's got two base 50s, right? Maybe it's max speed Ursaluna, maybe. Then he's got the Iron Hands there. Not the greatest of mons there. People prefer Raging Bolt these days, but we have more than enough to deal with what he's got. Now, we don't necessarily need the Iron Crown mode here because I see, like, you got ChiYu, you got Flutter Mane, you got the Ursaluna there. These are all things that Iron Crown kind of struggles a little bit against. But if we have the Calm Mind, we could potentially, wall these special attackers out. I just don't think we necessarily need it. I think, like, our own Flutter Mane and our Ogerpon will be enough, along with our own Tornadus there, right? So we can just bring the Ursh in the back instead. So he's gonna go Tornadus ChiYu there. I'm gonna go with my own Tornadus and my own Ogerpon here. So Ideally, we can taunt his Tornadus, right? Because again, we don't want him to get up Tailwind, so I want to just do that. I'm going to taunt his Tornadus there, and I'm going to Terra Fire the Ogerpon so I can get some good damage, right? We take the Tornadus off the field, but his Dark Pulse takes my Torn out the field. Now, that KO'd it. That specs ChiYu, and I think that's modest because my Ogerpon was able to outspeed it. So we're just going to go for the raw Moonblast there. I'm surprised that didn't KO there. And then Ivy Cudgel to pick up. He went for Hyper Voice instead of Earth Power. I think that's a mistake there. I think he probably could have just KO'd my Ogerpon there, but my Fluttermane would have been healthy. Goes for Terra Fairy Flutter. Again, Moonblast into the Ursaluna. Dazzling Gleam, we live. We have some good bulk here. And then we just take out the Ursaluna. And now the game is pretty much over, right, by turn 3. Because, again, we have one more Mon in the back to, again, surpass the Fluttermane. He actually did have Shadow Ball this whole time, but, again, not enough damage. We got the special attack damage reduction. Fluttermane Ogerpon was more than enough here. And, again, we still had one more Mon in the back just in case. But the taunt really helped us a lot because if he got that Tailwind off, then he could just be more aggressive than us. But because we were able to deny that, we had the better options in the end, and our EVs did help us a little bit and survive. All right, so starting from the beginning, this was the original Regidrago variant that is the most common idea. Again, you just have the strong Tailwind and Dragon Energy Nuke, and then you still have the alternate modes with Indeedee Iron Crown there. Again, this one also has Terra Blast, Terra Water, which is great against, you know, stuff like ChiYu and Incineroar that you have a hard time hitting. And then at the same time, you still have the Ogerpon Hard Flame and the Urshifu Rapid Strike there. And again, the items are subjective. You can always just go with the Scarf on the Urshifu, even the band, it can kind of work there. And then at the same time, Tornadus can have a Sash, and then Indeedee can have like Goggles, for example, and go Terra Grass. Either way, the 6 is still pretty standard. Then the non-Regidrago variants will feature something like this, where you have Landorus in exchange, right, which can benefit from the Rain Dance because you have Sandsear Storm, and then you still have Urshifu Rapid Strike and Heart Flame, and in this case, the Rapid Strike Ursh has the Mystic Water. Ideally, you can go like this bulky Adamant variant that has been running around that doesn't need the damage anymore because you have, again, Mystic Water along with Rain Dance, so it's just better to have like a defensive Terra in this case, and I like Terra Steel. You can always just go at the same time like Grass if you want, because Grass and Steel in the rain doesn't take as much fire damage. And then at the same time, you still have this bulky Landorus here. Now, I think when I was building it, I put it as like timid, but it's supposed to be modest. But just in case, again, here's the modest pace. And then this one, even though we didn't show any test games with this one, again, this one has Fluttermane along with the single strike Urshifu here. So the idea with this one is you're going with Sunny Day in exchange for Rain Dance because you don't have the Water Ursh anymore. And you have the Heart Flame Ogre and the Fluttermane, which can both benefit from the Sunny Day. So you can always just exploit this idea, and you still have Indeedee Iron Crown for the Psyspam idea if you so choose. Okay, so those are the 3 like hyper aggressive variants. This one here is the Federico Calm Mind variant, where you have double redirector and fake out pressure with Incin, and the Assault Vest Incin can also be an offensive threat. And again, you have the Calm Mind in exchange for the Terra Blast, Terra Water. And because of that, we're gonna go a modest, bulkier, slower variant, which means we can take more damage because we have the benefit of the Calm Mind and the Incineroar reducing physical attack damage. So we can stay on the field and, you know, just keep dealing damage with Expanding Force and Attack and Cutters. And, you know, we still have Urshifu here with the Sash. Like I said, you can always alternate the item. And then we have Ogerpon Wellspring, which is still pretty good with the Fire, Water, Grass. And then Landorus here. This one was timid. Okay, so this one, technically you can still go timid here, but I believe the modest variant is still the best way. So in the paste, before I post it in the video description, I will change this to modest because that is what it was supposed to be. But if you like timid, you can definitely do it. And then this last one right here, this is, again, also from Toronto. This one combines the Calm Mind idea with the hyper aggression here, and you can definitely play it because, again, you still have Sunny Day, which can benefit the Ogerpon and the Fluttermane. And even though your Urshifu Rapid Strike here doesn't like the sun, again, you still have ideas that you can click, you know, with Tailwind along with surging strikes, and then just U-turn pivot outs and stuff like that. So you can definitely use any of these. I think they're all proven. They're all very successful in what they're supposed to do. It really just depends on how you want to play the Iron Crown Psyspam idea. But either way, these are just some of the easy pieces that you can use to round it. Are there other builds? Yeah, there are, but I think these are the most successful ones to date right now. Again, more than welcome to try other ideas, but these are just some easy, simple ones to get you started, just in case you had no idea on how to start with the Iron Crown stuff. All right, so that's it for now, folks. We'll be back with another video in the next one. Hopefully you're enjoying watching the current regionals right now. And again, if you're trying to attend one in the near future, and if you need a little bit of help in terms of like building your own team, and if you need some assistance and guidance and direction, feel free to check out coaching on the channel. Sign up with the tier 3 sub. That is a team building session that you get with a one-on-one call with me, where we get to build your team from scratch. And even if you're not going to a regional, if you're just trying to play like some standard cup games, right, that you have in your local area, then we can also help you build a team for that. If you look in the video description below, as well as the pinned comment section, you will see the link to join the channel with that tier 3 team building sub. Otherwise, if you want a little bit more, if you want the tier 4, that will still get you the team building stuff that you get with the tier 3, but now you also have the option of showing us your showdown replays with the team. So this way we can look at how you're using the team and give you feedback on your game. So this way we can improve your gameplay along with giving you a good team at the same time. All right, well, that's it for now, folks. We'll be back with another video in the next one. Peace out and have a good one.